This motorcycle is now close to 90,000 kilometers, and it had some hard moments. In a few months, I am planning another 20,000. Long days, remote roads, no space for mechanical drama. So the question now is, will I trust it for another 20,000 kilometers to survive without serious problems? The model is 2021, and at this mileage, no matter what I think about this motorcycle, I have to be very realistic and try to predict what could go wrong. That is not an easy job, especially with a model that has such a strong reputation for reliability. So first I need to have the entire route in my head and think about the weak and the strong points of this model and where it could realistically fail. The good news is that I have already been there before and I have very good idea what I actually need from this motorcycle. What I have changed so far? Honestly, almost nothing, just the regular maintenance, oil changes, brake pads, a rear brake rotor, a few chains and sprockets, and that is basically it. I replaced the stock springs with stiffer ones, not because they were damaged, no, because I wanted to adjust them for my weight, and I installed a high mount muffler to avoid problems with the well-known bracket. The modifications that I have are minimal and they already proved themselves in several trips. I don't have any serious doubts that they will last another 20,000 kilometers. Let's now go to the main components of this motorcycle and see can I identify any weak points. I will start with the most important, the engine. Because if the engine stops, everything stops. So far, I haven't had any problems with it. It has always worked exactly as it should. This means that chances of technical issues like defective parts or excessive wear are relatively low. It is still possible considering the mileage, but it is not something I am worried about right now. But the engines rarely fail suddenly without warning. If something goes wrong, it usually starts small, and I have to make sure that I'm not missing those early signs. I also don't use any power commanders, remapping or other power modifications. That gives me additional confidence. I believe that stock engines usually last longer than any experiments made to increase power. These 70 and something horsepower are more than enough for me and for this trip. Suspension is the next critical part. As I said, I changed the springs to match my weight. The conversion was done almost 50,000 kilometers ago, so I don't expect any negative surprises here, at least from the forks. I'm slightly more concerned about the rear shock, but I will inspect it properly before the trip and make decisions then. It looks fine now, but after thousands of kilometers under serious load, things can change. And problem with suspension is that you often notice it too late, when the damage is already done. The exhaust system is next. It is mostly stock except for the muffler. The catalytic converter, lambda sensor and the original buckets are still there. I don't see any reason to worry about this area. The frame and subframe of this model are strong. I don't have any doubts that they will handle another 20,000 kilometers. The swingarm and linkage deserve more attention, but I will talk about their maintenance later in this video. I use K&N filter and pre-filter and I don't expect issues here, even with many dusty days ahead. Electrical system. Honestly, I don't expect anything here either. The wiring is still stock, solid, and it has never caused any malfunctions. Even though electrical problems are rare, when they happen, they can stop the whole trip. That's why I don't take this part lightly, even if it looks like fine. Apart from heated grips and an extension cable for my compressor, I don't have any additional accessories connected to the battery. It is still in good condition, but I will do a proper load test before I leave. Wheels and brakes. Nothing unusual here, but a careful inspection before the trip will say if we need any attention. Of course, the brake calibers will be cleaned and looked before the trip. Small components like clutch and brake levers, gear shifter, rear brake pedal and basic hardware usually last many years with a proper adjustment. I don't see concerns there. Am I afraid to ride this model without crash guards? To be honest, not at all. The bike has a relatively slim profile and it crashes surprisingly safely. Of course, in some specific situations, things might be different, but that could also be true even with crash guards installed. Because trusting a motorcycle is one thing, preparing properly is something completely different. Now the important part. What maintenance will I do before the trip? Because the motorcycle is close to 90,000 kilometers, some components must be replaced. First, the clutch. is still working fine, but I won't risk keeping it for another 20,000 kilometers. It will be replaced before the trip. The original clutch I will keep as a spare with me. Second, the spark plugs. I changed them 25,000 kilometers ago. They might survive the trip, but I prefer to start with the new ones. The old plugs will come with me as a spares. I will definitely check the valve clearance. If it's fine, I will leave it like this and adjust it later, but if necessary, I will make the proper adjustments now. Oil and filter changes are obvious. I will also replace the antifreeze because it's still the original. Brake fluid will be changed as well. The rear disc and both front and rear brake pads will be replaced. The swing arm will be removed and together with the linkage inspected and re-greased. The same applies to the steering head bearings. The rear sprocket carrier bearing will be replaced. It is more likely to fail first and it is not common size everywhere. The rest of bearings will be inspected and replaced if necessary. The forks will be inspected as well. I will definitely change the oil because it has more than 20,000 kilometers on it. And I will inspect and if needed replace the oil and dust seals as well as the neoprene covers. Chain and sprockets will be also changed before the trip. There will be a few additional small adjustments, but in general this is the preparation plan. Now, after I have looked at every major system and I have thought about the risk, it is time to be honest. So the answer to the original question, will this motorcycle last another 20,000 kilometers? I believe it will. But in the end, it is a prediction, not a diagnosis. Only the trip itself will show whether I was right. I will make several more videos about the preparation for this trip. Next week's video is going to be about the spare parts and tools that I plan to take with me. After that, I will film the full maintenance process in my friend's garage and share the current condition of the bike and our progress. If this is something that you might be interested in, please consider subscribing. On my second channel, I'll go much more in depth about the luggage setup, what clothes I am taking, how I combine them, where I keep my tools and many other details. That's everything for today. I hope that this video will help to at least one person. Press like, dislike, whatever it deserves. Check the links in the description and see you in the next video. Ciao!